Had a few hours to digest that loss on Sunday. Yeah, June loss should not be devastating or a gut punch or anything like that, but man, that one hurt on Sunday. Got to brush it aside. Big week ahead for the Milwaukee Brewers, and they're still in hot pursuit of the Chicago Cubs. Get to all that coming up next on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
They always say that those kind of losses even themselves out. A loss, you might blow a couple of run lead late. They say that always the baseball gods always even things out in the end. And the baseball gods have been on the Brewers' side this year. Let's face it, that's what Pat Murphy was kind of talking about at the end of the game last night. Said maybe we had this one coming. He said to the media afterwards. We'll get to all that coming up next. Chuck Freeman, good to have you along here on Locked On Brewers, longtime sportscaster here in the great state of Wisconsin and proud host of Locked On Brewers. This episode is brought to you by the great folks over at FanDuel. FanDuel, right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel. Hope you didn't have the live line on the Brewers or the Brewers at all at any portion of that game on Sunday. Because, these a loss in June, well, it's the end of June. This one we're going to look back at, though, because the Brewers, when you play the Colorado Rockies, and, if you watch this podcast and me over the years, I've always said, as long as you take 2 or 3, you keep on winning series and all that, unless you get in desperation mode at the end of the season where you really got to crank things up and you're not really in the race and you got to, you just got to win games in bunches. But the Brewers are in a nice spot right now. They are. They're 2 games behind the Chicago Cubs. Would have been 1 game out had they would have held on to that game against the Rockies. But the Rockies are just so bad. This is the one team I think you got to sweep. Friday night, they nearly blew a 6-0 lead, held on for the 1-run victory. And then you won on Saturday with Priester doing a heck of a job, 11 Ks. Then you came back on Sunday, and you tried to make a 2-0 lead hold up on 3 hits through 8 innings. And this has been my problem with the Brewers. Haven't been doing it lately, but you know how they are. They get into some of these modes where they just can't get out of their own way offensively. And this was one of those games on Sunday. They had 3 hits through 8 innings, 2 solo home runs, Sal Frelick and Christian Yelich, and Frelick had the other base hit as well. So they were trying to make that stand. And Uribe gave up a run in the 8th inning. So it's 2-1 heading into the 9th. And then Megill gives up the tying home run to Orlando Arcia. And I know Megill got heat, and we're going to get to him coming up here in a little bit. He got heat from Brewer Nation. I think more or less Brewer Nation just ticked off that the Brewers lost that game, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. But this is a game you got to sweep. You got to finish this off, and you got to win it. And I'm not putting this one on the offense. 3 hits through 8 innings against these guys. I know Herman Marquez is a good pitcher. A little underrated. Pitched against the Brewers in the playoffs way back in the day. He's been with them that long. But, the Rockies, Murphy was crediting. He said, you can look at the Rockies and laugh at their record and all that. But, man, they came out and played a major league game today, the Rockies. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when you play some of these teams. You're going to get a major league effort. The pitching. It's not like when the Brewers are – it's not like in college football if Georgia is playing some – Division III school, right, that they should stop. All right, chances are Georgia should win that game 100 out of 100. It's not the same thing in baseball. That's why the line is only a minus 250 or so. It'd be like a minus 250 line in baseball is equivalent to the Brewers, an NBA team being, about a 5-point favorite or so, maybe a 4-point favorite in the game, maybe less than that. That's how it is. That's how because pitching evens things out. And the Brewer offense did not come to play, and they got burned by this. When I saw Murphy's comment, we had this one coming. First thing I thought of is because they play with fire so much, getting there in middle of games and they're holding on and scratching and clawing and praying that they're going to lean on the pitching staff and that a 2-0 lead is going to hold up. This was the case on Sunday. They've been playing with fire all season. They got burned in this one. They were resting on a 2-0 lead, and they couldn't finish it off. So after the Cubs got beat 2-0 by the Astros in a game, the Cubs just look lifeless. I feel like the Cubs cannot beat a good team in a series. Look how many times they've lost series in recent weeks. I feel like, and this is only going off the top of my head. I don't watch them play every day, but just from following them, I feel like against the good teams, they several times in recent weeks, they've dropped 2 or 3. So the Cubs, I mean, getting one game within the Cubs at this point, I think would have been huge. And I know it's only June 30th, but still, I thought, considering the whole of the Brewers had got themselves in at 6.5 out, getting within one game of the Cubs going into this road trip would have been a big deal. But the Arcia home run, third blown save for Megill on the season. And after he blew that save, yeah, Brewer Nation, and I think a lot of it is, and I get it, fans unloading because they're frustrated the Brewers blew the game and gave up a curveball home run to Arcia, an old friend, former Brewer. And fans were not happy. Now, I'll tell you this. I don't think he should be replaced. Brewer Nation, man, I love you. We're on the same, we're all in this together, but I don't think, I think when I hear that he should be replaced and all that, who are you going to replace him with? Uribe? I don't think Uribe is ready for that closer spot. Some people have said, I've seen, they need to go out and trade for a closer. Okay. If you want to do what you did with K-Rod, you picked up K-Rod in 2011 and you had the K-Rod Axford duel. I'd be good with something like that. And then Uribe in there as well. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. But Megill, still, I think, having a good season. Third blown save in 21 shots. I'll take that. Again, I think these closers, we all expect them to be perfect, to come out there and be lights out and be Rowley Fingers, Mariano Rivera, Goose Gossage, to go old school on you. But these guys aren't perfect. They're going to give up. They're going to give up runs from time to time. We've seen that with Josh Hader, Devin Williams when he was here. We've seen that. We've seen closers blow games, and that's just going to happen. These guys are not going to go 100% from the free throw line at all. And I like the fact that he came out for the 10th. I know some weren't unhappy about that, but yeah, why not come back for the 10th inning? I'll take my coming back for the 10th. I'll take that. That's one of my big problems is when a guy blows it in the 9th inning, throws a couple of pitches, he ain't coming back for the 10th inning. I want my guy back out there in the 10th inning. And Megill, who had not pitched 2 innings since 2023, came out there for the 10th. Yeah, he gave him a run, but you got that ghost runner on second base. So I don't put that really on Megill right there. Still, I like the fact that they brought him back. Murph brought him back. Day off. Murph saw it was a big game. Saw it was a big game. And I agree. Now, Murph kind of downplayed the standings, though, afterwards. He was devastated to lose that game. But he says he doesn't look at it in the terms of being within one game of the Cubs. I don't know. I don't know how much of that I believe. But the bottom line is Trevor Megill should be the closer going forward, unless they went out and got themselves another David Bednar or somebody like that. Pirates aren't going to trade him to the Brewers anyway. But if they got another guy like K-Rod fell into our laps in 2011, 14 years ago, that's not too long ago to reflect on something like that, right? We remember the K-Rod trade, which happened during the All-Star break, which I was stunned that the Brewers made that move. Great move, I thought it was. But took 2 or 3 from them, 2 or 3 from the Pirates. Now they go on a 6-game road trip. They got 3 in New York against the Mets, who are just terrible. The Mets are just awful. Even though, they're like the Brewers, like 10 games over the 500 mark, but gosh, they've lost 12 of their last 15. We're going to get to that coming up here little bit later on in the show. But God, I would have wanted to open up my app today, look and see, the Brewers 1 game behind the Cubs. God, that would have been so beautiful. Could not close it out. But a great weekend. And Christian Yelich, 12-game hitting streak, homered, got 16 dingers on the season. How about these numbers right here? In the last 28 games, Yelich hitting .364 with 30 RBIs. Last 28 games, hitting .364 with 30 RBIs. It's amazing. He went opposite field on Sunday for that one. But I thought it was, again, one of the reasons why the offense has picked it up as of late is because of Yelly. That's 16 bombs on the season. We come back. Is Caleb Durbin going to be sharing some time over at third base? Interesting move that the Brewers, who've not announced it yet, but there's reports out there that they're bringing somebody up for their farm system who could be playing some third base. All that and more coming up next on this edition of Locked On Brewers. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book for a reason. Summer sports in full swing. Live betting on FanDuel. That's the best way to get in on all the action. You see a team that you don't like, or a team that you like that gets down early, jump in on the action with their amazing live betting. You're already following the action. Why make it more thrilling? Hey, while the rest of your friends might be out in this 90-degree heat outside, man, sit inside like I did today and watch the Brewers baseball game on TV. Watch the rest of them on the MLB package. Watch a little of the Cubs game as well. But you can get in all the action on FanDuel. FanDuel, same game parlays, watching a bet right into the ninth inning. FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. And new on FanDuel, new customers, you bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app right now. Get started. FanDuel.com. Get started with your Monday action right there on FanDuel. Again, you bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. With FanDuel. FanDuel. Daily promotions, fun ways to bet, and gotta love their live betting. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Hey, everybody, get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your audio podcasts. We're on all the podcast platforms out there because we're the #1 Brewers podcast on the internet. Because of you, great Brewer fans out there, downloading our podcast. And if you're already listening to us on the audio platforms, please go to our YouTube page, our growing YouTube page. Search Locked On Brewers on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell that alerts you every time we drop an episode. On the audio platforms, same thing. Hit the alert buttons that alert you every time we drop an episode. We are talking Brewers baseball with you throughout the week on a daily basis here on Locked On Brewers. Anthony Seigler, released by the Yankees, former first-round draft pick in 2018, guy who just wasn't cutting it with the Yankees, picked up by the Brewers in the offseason, low-level move, didn't draw a lot of headlines, 25 years old, couldn't make it past AA, got promoted to AAA this year with Nashville, hitting .277, 7 home runs, 20 stolen bases. Reports are, according to a few out there, that he is going to be promoted to the Brewers for this road trip. Now, we'll see who gets sent down. I mean, Woodruff is going to be activated very soon. We're anticipating Chad Patrick, who, by the way, pitched okay. All right, okay. A little bit better than okay. 5 innings, 8 Ks on Sunday. But he, I would think, is the likely odd man out. But by promoting Anthony Seigler to from AAA, a guy who can play second base, third base, and some catcher, who's going down now. I think this clearly is a move that they don't feel so sure, and none of us do, about the left side of the infield, Durbin and Ortiz. And maybe Seigler is that guy they feel is starting to might be an option. Or maybe the Brewers see something that this guy is finally turning the corner at the age of 25. Lacks power, although he's got the 7 home runs. He's got pretty good patience. Draws a lot of walks. Anthony Seigler. We'll see if where he ends up. I don't know. I don't see him as a backup catcher. I like the job Haas is doing at backup catcher. Ziegler playing some third base. I think that's the likely option. So we'll see. Anthony Seigler. But who goes down? Who goes down in this case? Anthony Seigler. Interesting move that the Brewers made. Really interesting. Well, they're about to make. They haven't announced it just yet. Just reports out there saying the Brewers are going to do this. Brandon Woodruff. I'm going to skip the Dave Parker news here and get the Brandon Woodruff for a second here. He made 10 rehab starts. That's got to be a record for rehab starts. He made his 10th rehab start on Sunday. It's got to be some sort of record. 10 rehab starts. Usually go down to, no matter what, you're down there for a couple of rehab starts, maybe 5 or 6 or so if you're coming back from like rotator, but 10 rehab starts because of the constant other injuries that he suffered. The ankle injury, the elbow injury after getting smacked off the elbow with a line drive, what would have been his last rehab start. So according to reports, this is likely his last rehab start. He pitched 3 1/3 with Nashville. His fastball topped up at 95.8 miles an hour. I was reading the story from Todd Rosiak of the Journal Sentinel. And Woodruff is likely going to be on this team very soon. Okay. He's not going to be sitting down in Nashville. They're not trading him. He is going to be in this rotation. So Chad Patrick, who pitched 5 innings, struck out 8 Sunday, kind of ended a little bit of a 3-game slide for him. I think he's the guy who's going to get sent down. I think he's the guy who's going to get sent down. But then again, Patrick gets sent down. Who else is getting sent down to make room for Anthony Seigler? At the end of Andrew Monasterio? Could that be the end of him? Maybe. Well, Murph always talks real highly of him, but we'll see. Got to throw it out to Sal Frelick, too, while I'm at it. Since June 15th, he's hitting .354. 1 home run, 3 hits on Sunday. And since June 15th is when he got elevated to the leadoff spot. He's been great. Great at leadoff spot. I like Terang in that leadoff spot, but Frelick, too. Frelick obviously has been great. Found a home for him. Leadoff spot. Doing a terrific job. God, his hustle and all that. Both of those guys. I'm good with either guy in leadoff spot. But Frelick has been doing a heck of a job since June 15th, again, batting .354. All right, Dave Parker, the Cobra, passed away over the weekend. Sad to see this. Now, when I was a kid growing up, the Pirates were believe it or not, one of the best teams in baseball. Dave Parker was a perennial all-star, one of the best players in the game, and was an MVP with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He ended up in his 19-year career playing 1 season with the Milwaukee Brewers. That was 1990, where he was an all-star. He was in his late 30s. He batted .289 with 21 home runs. He swung the sledgehammer at in the on-deck circle. And for 1 year, fans liked him. Now, it was a bad team. He was an all-star here, but the Brewers ended up trading him to Colorado for Dante Bichette, Bo's father. We're going back a ways here. But Dave Parker passed away going into the Hall of Fame. Dave Parker should have been in the Hall of Fame yesterday, like yesteryear, okay? It's sad that Dave Parker's not going to be able to be there for his Hall of Fame ceremonies this summer, coming up in a couple of weeks. Took this long for Dave Parker to get into the Hall of Fame? Really? The people who vote for this, watched Dave Parker in the 70s. All right. He was a part of those 80s Oakland A's teams. And even again, 1990 was an all-star with the Brewers, the Cobra. Man, I remember, I grew up in the late 70s. There was a kid in my neighborhood by the name of Randy Ward. This was when jerseys first came out. Some of you old schoolers remember a place called Merle Harmon's. Merle Harmon's, the former Brewer broadcaster, but he's a Brewer broadcaster at the time. And even after he left, he still had his stores in Milwaukee where you could actually buy jerseys. You couldn't buy sports jerseys anywhere. You couldn't just go to a department store and buy jerseys or go to even to the ballpark. There was no souvenir shop. You couldn't buy them at the old county stadium. But Merle Harmon's had jerseys, and you get numbers printed on the back if you want it. They would decal them on the back. And kid growing up, I grew up in Greendale, south side of Milwaukee. Randy Ward always wore his Dave Parker number 39 jersey. Dave Parker Pirates jersey. He would emulate him as a batter, as a kid. And I still remember that. And Dave Parker passing it away. Again, all-star multiple times, going into the Hall of Fame this summer. Shouldn't have taken this long. Should have been in there a long, long time ago. Big road trip coming up for the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll talk about that coming up next here on this edition of Locked On Brewers. By the way, thanks for making us your first listen to every day on Locked On Brewers. Dropping our episode every day. Appreciate all you great Brewer fans out there talking Brewers baseball with us every day. In the NL Central, the Brewers, again, 2 games out going into the series against the Mets. 3 with the Mets, 3 with Miami. And then they come back home, the Brewers do, a week from Monday, today, and take on the LA Dodgers for a first of 3. But the Mets are a sorry team right now. They really are. They're terrible. They've just been outscored 30-4 by the Pittsburgh Pirates in a weekend series. The Pirates trash them. The Pirates trash the New York Mets. And the Pirates got this ability to do that. But the Mets look lifeless. They had like a team meeting on Saturday. Those never work out. Like when the Brewers have these team meetings, it's like what it works out for a game. Mets held a team meeting and they went out and got crushed. Again, outscored 30-4 by the Pirates this weekend. The Brewers will have them and then at Miami this weekend. These 3 games against New York, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Peralta, Miz, and Quintana. Peralta, Miz, and Quintana start against the Mets in this 3-game series. This was a tough loss, man. You know, I did the watch the game. Did not go to the game today. Did not go to the game. I'm taping this late Sunday night, early Monday morning. I thought, okay, I'm just gonna not go. I've been to nearly every Sunday game, and I cover a lot of games during the week. I thought, I'm not gonna go to this game. Gave my tickets away, and part of the reason, was the Rockies. And so I thought, 85-degree day. I'll sit home, watch the game. Got a chance to flip it around and watch the Cubs game for a little bit. Watch a little of the Mets as well. Their upcoming opponent. Like I said, the Mets look lifeless. But man, that stung. That stung. I had my post-game report already on my short video to talk about a 3-game sweep of the Rockies and charging in on the Cubs. But they couldn't finish the deal. But got to go out there, and you got to take 2 or 3 for the Mets. And you know what I always say? I hate playing teams that are struggling like this. I do, because it's like when the Brewers played the Braves a couple of weeks ago. The Braves were in a similar slump. They weren't doing anything, and they came to Milwaukee and took 2 or 3. And the Mets are just so bad right now. They got some injuries in their rotation. Frankie Montas got just drilled Saturday night. Just drilled. He had 5 runs in the first inning. He was awful. So I'm not taking anything for granted, though. I don't like playing teams, though, when they are coming off a struggle like this. So we'll talk about that Tuesday night after the game. We'll be recapping the game right here on Locked On Brewers. But all in all, I have to say, hey, 4-2 on the homestand. Wish they could have swept the Rockies. Christian Yelich on fire. Great performance by Priester over the weekend. Trevor Megill, he's not being replaced. We got to look ahead and flush this one. as the NFL coaches always say. It's going to do it for Locked On Brewers for tonight and Monday morning. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Again, you get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your audio podcast. We're the number one Brewers podcast on the internet because you great Brewer fans, as always. Again, you can get me on Twitter as well. Chuck Freeman, Freimund. Always feel free to DM me anytime you want, 24 hours a day. Can't guarantee I'm going to get back to you in the middle of the night. I know I had some guys from the UK, 3 of you guys from the UK, including a guy who took a picture from his living room. Oh, man, I'm telling you, I when I get pictures like that, and you tell me about how you listen to our, there's a, 8-hour time difference. You listen to our podcast or you view it on your TV. Man, you talk about motivation for a guy wanting to do his job. Not that I needed any extra motivation, but guys, man, overseas watching us, Brewer fans, yeah, we're all pulling in the same direction. All right, we'll see y'all. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Have yourself a great Monday, everybody.